Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost of the One True God, back with you with the next video in my series reading The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Without further ado, returning to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn as read by Lord Naren White. Maybe I better not tell. Why, Jim? Well, day's reasons. But you wouldn't tell on me if I was to tell you, would you, Huck? Blame me if I would, Jim. Well, I believe you, Huck. I run off. Jim! But mind you said you wouldn't tell. You said you wouldn't tell, Huck. Well, I did. I said I wouldn't, and I'll stick to it. Honest Injun, I will. People will call me a low-down abolitionist and despise me for keeping mum, but that don't make no difference. I ain't gonna tell, and I ain't going back there anyways. So now, let's know all about it. Well, you see it is this way. Old missus, that's Miss Watson. She pecks on me all the time and treats me pooty rough. But she always said she wouldn't sell me down to Orleans. But I noticed there was a black trader round town, round the place considerable lately, and I began to get uneasy. Well, one night I creeps to the Pooty Lake, and the do weren't quite sheet. And I hear old missus tell the widder she going to sell me down to Orleans, but she didn't want to. But she'd get $800 for me, and it's such a big stack of money she couldn't resist. They went then. The widder she tried to get her, she wouldn't do it. But I never waited to hear the rest. I lit out mighty quick, I tell you. I tuck out and shin down the hill, inspect to steal a skiff long day show summers above the town, but they was people a-stirrin' yet. So I hid in the old tumble-down cooper's shop on the bank to wait for everybody to go away. Well, I was there all night. There was somebody round all the time. Long 'bout 6 in the morning skiffs to go by, and 'bout 8 or 9 every skiff that went long was talking 'bout how your pap came over to the town, say you was killed. Day's last skiffs was full of ladies and gentlemen a-going for over to see the place. Sometimes they'd pull up at the show and take a rest before they started across, so by the talk I got to know all about the killing. I was powerful sorry you was killed, Huck, but I ain't no more now. I laid under the shavings all day. I was hungry, but I warn't afeard, because I knowed old missus and the widder was going to start to the camp meeting right after breakfast and be gone all day, and they knows I goes off with the cattle about daylight, so they wouldn't expect to see me round the place, and so they wouldn't miss me till arter dark in the evening. Dear servants wouldn't miss me, case they'd shin out and take the holiday, as the old folks are out in the way. Well, when it comes dark, I tuck out up the river road, and went 'bout 2 mile or more to where they weren't no houses. I made up my mind 'bout what I was going to do. You see, if I kept on trying to get away afoot, the dogs would track me. If I stole a skiff to cross over, they'd miss that scaff, you see, and they'd know 'bout why I'd land on the other side, and what to pick up my track. So I says, a raft is what I's after. It don't make no track. I see a light a-comin' round the pint by me by, so I waited and shoved a log ahead on me, and swum more'n halfway across the water, across the river, and got in mongst the driftwood, and keep my head down low, and kinder swum again the current till the raft come along. Then I swum to the stern of in it and tuck a hold. It caught it up, and was pooty dark for a little while. So I climbed up and laid down on the planks, The men is all the way yonder in the middle, where the lantern was. The river was a rising, and there was a good current. So I reckoned that by 4 in the morning, I'd be 25 mile down the river. Then I'd slip in before daylight and swim ashore and take to the woods on the Illinois side. But I didn't have no luck. When we was most down to the header, the island, a man began to come after me with lantern. I see it wasn't no use for us to wait, so I slid in overboard and struck out for the island. Well, I had a notion I could land most anywheres, but I couldn't bank too bluff. I was most to the foot on the island before I found a good place. I went into the woods and judged I wouldn't fool with rafts no more, long as they moved the lantern round so. I had my pipe and a plug or dog leg and some matches in my cap, and they weren't wet, so I was all right. And so you ain't had no meat nor bread to eat all this time. Why didn't you get mud turkles? How you going to get me? You can't slip up on 'em and grab 'em. And how's a body going to hit 'em with rock? How could a body do it in the night? And I weren't going to show myself on the bank in the daytime. Well, that's so. You had to keep in the woods all the time, of course. Did you hear 'em shooting the cannon? Oh, yes. I knowed they was after you. I see 'em go by it. Watched 'em to the bushes. Some young birds come along. Excuse me, we're back to the narration portion of it. Some young birds come along, flying a yard or two at a time, and lighting. Jim said it was a sign it was going to rain. He said it was a sign when young chickens flew that way, and so he reckoned it was the same way when young birds done it. I was going to catch some of them, but Jim wouldn't let me. He said it was death. He said his father laid mighty sick once, and some of them catched a bird, and his old granny said his father would die, and he did. And Jim said you mustn't count the bad things you are going to cook for dinner, because that would bring bad luck. The same if you shook the tablecloth after sundown. And he said if a man owned a beehive and that man died, the bees be told about it before the sun up next morning, or else the bees would all weaken down and quit work and die. Jim said the bees wouldn't sting idiots, but I didn't believe that, because I had tried them lots of times myself, and they wouldn't sting me. I had heard about some of these things before, but not all of them. Jim knowed all kinds of signs. He said he knowed most everything. I said it looked to him like all the signs was about bad luck. And so I asked him if there weren't any good luck signs. He says, "Mighty few, and they ain't no use to a body. What do you want to know? What you want to know when good luck's a coming for? Want to keep it off?" And he said, If you've got hairy arms and a hairy breast, it's a sign that you's a going to be rich. Well, there's some use in a sign like that, in case it's so fur ahead. You see, maybe you's got to be po a long time first, and so you might get discouraged and kill yourself if you didn't know by the sign that you going to be rich. But maybe. If you got hairy arms and a hairy breast, Jim, what's the use to ask that question? Don't you see I has? Well, are you rich? No, but I've been rich once, and I'm gonna be rich again. Once I had $14, but I tucked a speculum and got busted out. What did you speculate in, Jim? Well, first I tackled stock. What kind of stock? Why, livestock, cattle, you know. I put $10 in a cow, but I ain't gonna risk no more money in stock. The cow up and died on my hands. So you lost You lost the $10? No, I didn't lose it all. I only lost about 9 of it. I sold a hide and taller for $1.10. You had $5.10 left? Did you speculate anymore? We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.